GKFX Prime presents the Market Analysis Webinar.
Hello traders, welcome back to another video. You know what time it is. It's another weekly market analysis, trade opportunities time. Let's look at what we've got this week for the markets. What are the higher probability setups that we've got in play? So we're going to have a look at the markets for this week, and let's see what we've got in today's this week's shortlist. Again, I've shortlisted a few charts for you, and I'm going to look at the economic calendar. Let's see where the markets are going. We've got some interesting times here, interesting opportunities. So let's have a look at those together. Again, if you just hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe or leave a comment if you've got your own charts, and we can have a look at them as well. And just mark up your analysis. All right, so as always, we look at the bigger picture and then come down into the lower time frame and find an entry. Let's have a look what we've got this week. Right, let's begin without further ado. Let's not waste any time. Monday, we don't have any real news to watch out for. Tuesday, we've got a bank holiday on the yen. We've also got from Australia monetary policy minutes, and then from Canada CPI, which you might want to watch out for. And then on the euro, we've got a speech. Wednesday, we've got CPI from the pound, and we've got another speech from the ECB on the euro there on Wednesday. And then we've got the big one, FOMC Wednesday this week. Do bear that in mind. That's towards the second half of the day. Expect some of the volatility to be present in the market. And then we've got Tuesday, we've got another few big ones. We've got the rates from the Swiss National Bank, and we've got a rate and monetary policy from the UK on the pound there. That's another big one to watch for. And then a smaller one, unemployment claims on the dollar. And then ending the week, Friday, retail sales on the pound, and then manufacturing PMI on euro, pound, and dollar. So this is of lesser importance, looking at the in comparison to the rest of the week. So I'll be watching out for these, the ones that I've starred here, to look for trades and see how they set up, the market set up as we get round to the news. Okay, let's begin with where we've got this week, and I will start with the major Forex charts as always. Let's have a look at the euro to begin. Okay, so euro, we've been in this little range that's been expanding week after week, taking out the highs, and we had this wick to the downside the previous week, taking out the lows, and another one taking out the lows, and we finished kind of neutral, slightly bullish, and taking out all the stop losses below here. So the thing that I'm looking at is this level here to hold if we are going to the upside, continuing to break structures here to the left, and this could now potentially, not yet, potentially be a swing low, and the market continuing to the upside with more weakness in the dollar. Now, it's not confirmed yet, and we don't know that yet because we are at this critical moment. So the question is, are we going to collapse and move lower, or are we going to go higher? Now, looking at the daily, I'm going to have these two obvious reference points to bear in mind. We've got that high and this low, and if the market breaks below this low and closes below, then I'll be looking at further downside with a possible, again, break, a pullback to get a better price, and a continue to the downside. And if we break and continue higher and close higher, then again, I'll be looking for the same idea, but we really want to break with clear momentum and reaching for this high up here. And if we zoom out, you can see further to the left, here's the next obvious high to go up there, and that's about 300 pips away. Now at this moment, I don't know whether this is the swing and the turnaround, because it's been very choppy here, and we yet to see whether that is the case. So we're going to go continue lower and head down into this sort of area right here, or move higher. So let's see what the market gives. At this moment, it's not very clear for me. and I'll wait for that. We do have this obvious move higher, but not yet very, let's say, not highly probable, not the real probabilities of where we want to go. The weekly, really want to see a strong weekly close. This was not so strong, left a wick, and it's more or less neutral, really, slightly bullish, but not as clear as we like to see it in terms of increasing the probabilities in our favor. Okay, so FOMC, remembering that, and speeches on the euro this week will add to the fact that this is lower probability, and we want to be careful, want to be really watch our step, because it might get quite choppy. And if it means we end the week and wait, sit on our hands, then so be it. Next week we'll take another look at another possibility on the euro dollar. Okay, I'll move on to another one. Let's move on to what should we go to? Let's go to euro pound. Okay, euro pound on the weekly here, we've got this uptrend that we can see. You can see on the monthly, it's a little bit clearer. We've got these highs, lows, and highs. And if I come back down to the weekly, we've got this range at the moment, and we have this low and this high. And if I take those 2 points as a reference, then and I draw a fib, what happens is we see that we have not quite hit the 61.8. Now, if you know from the previous videos, this is a level to watch out for between 61.8 and 78. So I am looking for the market to potentially reach lower, especially as we have a clean selling bearish candle last week. And I would I would prefer, I should say, the probabilities seem to be that the market will go a little bit lower to fill this area right here. Let me delete that. Let me go to the lower time frame, and keeping all of that in mind, what I can see, let me just shift here, is that we had these swings, highs and lows, and now continuing to going down lower. So if we have any, at the moment it's a bit choppy, so any move higher without breaking this high is a potential place to sell from to the downside in terms of probabilities. Not the biggest move at the moment, and this is part of a bigger retracement. So remembering that we're expecting a continuation to the buy side, so the bigger picture high time frame is really to the upside, and that is where I'm looking, what I'm looking for. Because of that, this move to the downside for this week is not as high probability, and not expecting much out of it. It's about 60-70 pips in terms of the move. Just delete that, and that's where we are at the moment. And you can see the previous days were also bearish, so continuing on that bearishness. So that's the small move, and if we do get here to this area without any pullback, without any clear entry, then we just drop right down. The next thing I'll be looking for is I'll be looking for a move within this zone, some kind of turnaround, and then continuing to the upside. So this is really the preferred entry. You may want to be a bit more patient, don't really want to be risking entering here if there's nothing clean. And later in the week with euro news, pound news, see how the price action plays out. I'd like to see a clear move higher and then breaking structures and a nice push to the upside. That will be the preferred idea. So yeah, may want to wait for it to actually do that and come down. Then we'll see how it plays out. And then we jump on it. So probability, high probability is to the upside. Okay, another pound pair. So we look at pound Aussie here. You can see, here's what we can see on the pound Aussie. We've got this wick left to the downside, pushed higher, broke structures, made this retracement, and then here is a reference for a swing low, and then continue on its very clear bullish movement higher. We then broke this high right here, and now last week was a minor pullback, and I'll be looking for it to continue to the upside here, and then possibly a bit higher up to the next reference point. So if I look on the daily, you can see we've had a few candles that pulled back. If I look on the 4 hour, here's a level, and I can see that there is a gap in the price here. So what I'll be expecting, if I just remove that, let me just draw a more accurate line. So what I'll be looking for is a better price, and what that would look like is a drop to the downside. I can in fact stretch this a bit further, as you can see, a drop to the downside and then continuing higher and making it swings, and you may have a couple of possible entry points to continue higher to our next target, which would be up here. Let me just mark it out, about the 1.887 or 883. Let's make it easier, more conservative. So here we go. So that's the idea here for pound Aussie, and that would be another possible drop. You can see it's starting to leave these wicks to the downside. So we do have a clue that we are still in the buy scenario. The high time frame is to the upside, and we are looking for that continuation, for that swing, for the market to continue to go there. Now, if that happens, I don't know, but this will be the next reference points. If we break below, then the whole idea collapses. And just straighten that out. That will be the reference point. I'm not expecting it to go below here. If it does, then scrapping this idea. So we're looking for that swing and then moving, continuing to the upside. Again, what have we got? We've got both pound news and Australian dollar news this week. So again, once again, let's bear that in mind. I really want to watch out for that. And if the news syncs with what we're looking for, then we'll be good to go. Okay, another one we've got, another pound pair we look at as a pound Swiss. Talked about this last week, about this being a level to watch for, and indeed the market has actually reacted off that level. Looking on the daily, you can see we had this wick left to the downside, didn't go lower and retrace, which is what I was looking at, and it also didn't go higher. But then after it took both sides, the low and the high, then it began to create some price action. There was no price action here because there was no pullback or continuation, but it did do that to the upside. And here we've got that candle which bounced back off the level and then pulled back and continued. So what next for pound Swiss? Well, looking to go higher based on what we can see so far. So here's that candle engulfed the previous week, and now I'd be looking for this level right here. This is the obvious one, and then the next one up would be up here. We're still kind of in a choppy market overall, so I would be more careful here and see where price goes. If we get another push to the upside and pull back, then any pullback to a better price would be good. And ultimately I'll be looking at this reference point here, this high, which is about the 1.14 or so. Yeah, so here's this high here, and this would be the idea to continue going higher. This trend line is no longer relevant, and we're looking at the weekly, very bullish behavior here. So I want to see that continuing to the top side again. Swiss news later in the week, pound news later in the week, and let's see where we head from there. I think I mentioned this before in the previous video, that when we approach significant major news in the week, the market does have a tendency to, more of a probability, I would say, to slow down. So any trades that you take before the major news hits would be a little bit riskier and lower probability. So bear that in mind if you do take them, and you may want to take a shorter term trade, bearing that in mind. Okay, and then see where the news and adjust your stops and your trade when you get to the news. Right, and the timing of it. So Let's look at CAD yen now. Right, weekly on the CAD yen, we can see that we had the big bearish candle, left this very obvious wick to the upside. Very clear that we are now bearish and going to be aiming for this low as the next place to watch out for. So the reference point, that's it here. Here we had this accumulation, this range, this sideways movement, whichever word you want to use. I had this high as a reference point. The market didn't go there, and then in fact what it did is it broke this low, which I was using as a reference point, and then went lower. So there I did not touch it, and the idea was broken. So now that we've made a significant push lower, broken the structures here to the left, we could see that we are indeed in a very much a sell idea, a sell scenario in CAD yen. So here's that low as the next place I'm going to be aiming for, from here to where it is, approximately 130 pips. So these ideas are no longer valid, and what I'm looking for is the next place to trade from, which I can see there is a gap here. So therefore, if I draw a fib from low to high, you can see this is about the area that I'll be looking to enter in terms of higher probability. And the invalidated point, the point where I would scrap, this is this area here. So if the market breaches this level, I don't expect it to breach this swing, and if it does, then scrap this idea, scrap the trade. Okay, but between here and there, this is the higher probability scenario. So pull back to this price and then a nice drop, so that's about 200 pips, and this will be a nice better place to sell from, not where we are here, because this is more like an extreme low of the week, the previous week. Okay, so that's the idea on the CAD yen. Once again, remembering the news. And another oil related pair is oil itself. So we've got crude oil here. Let's have a look at what we've got for that. So crude oil was ranging last week. I was looking at not last week, I think 2 weeks ago, to be a bit more careful because of that. And I didn't mention that because of that choppiness and this longer term sideways movement, you do want to watch out for that. So this is the place area where I was looking to trade from. That was a couple of weeks ago, and what happened is it actually completely broke through this level, and I was saying if we break through this level, then the whole idea of buying collapses, which is the case now. So if I just delete all of this, all of this, all of this, and this, none of this is any longer relevant. So just to not confuse things, let's go into the weekly. Let's delete this. And what we can see is that as we broke lower, the next reference point for the market to reach is this low right here, which is, if I mark up the chart here, 61.8 price point. If I zoom out even further, let's go to the monthly, maybe we get a better picture. And yeah, what you can see is below this level, there's this price point here. If I draw the fib from the low to the high, say that here's the 50 level and here's the 61.8. So let's see if we get there. At the moment, this, let me just delete that again, just for clarity. At the moment, the next swing we're targeting, you can see the month is bearish. Last week, extremely bearish, very easy to see. So now, in terms of an entry where we'd want to get in is a better price, and a better price would be this gap. We also have this smaller gap. So let's see which one it actually reacts from, whether it's this one if we reach up here, or the one higher. In either case, I'll be looking for both scenarios and to see which area the market wants to reverse from in terms of the price action. We want to see some reversal action candles, and if you don't know all the reversal patterns, then I'll suggest you check that out and have a look at that first to plan your trade. Here's that area, or possibly this one. And now if we get a reversal from there, then I'll be looking for further downside, as this area 61.5 for the first, or 61.8 as the first place to aim for. And after that, maybe we get into this big zone right here. So oil is weak so far, and it is trending down, heading lower. So I'm looking to continue on that bigger move. To the downside, I should say, right? Okay. Finally, let's end up with Bitcoin as we did last week. So interesting price action on Bitcoin, and this is what we were looking at, and quite interesting to see that we have very much what was expected, more or less what we actually looked at. And what happened last week, the market gapped and reversed very, very quickly, continued on its upward trend, which is what we were intending on, what we looked at overall on the bigger picture, on the bigger time frame, bigger scale for the market. And I was looking at this to be the impulse move, and then this to be the retracement, and then this area down here for the market to reverse off somewhere right here to look for a reversal pattern. Now what actually happened is we didn't really have it. We just gapped and the market hit that level, and then bam, just quickly shot away. And here were the two reference points I was looking at. What happened was we didn't reach, in fact, this zone. We just melted lower. Because of that, there was no trade, and the market just basically just shot away, just disappeared. So let's remove all of these and just start again, reanalyze. So we've got this area where we shot away from. We broke this structure high, and now we are what it looks like in a buy scenario, again moving higher to the upside. So continuing on that bigger picture, on that move to the upside with that idea, we're going to look for another buy. And what would the buy look like? Well, I want to see a better price. So a better price would be a retracement to a lower price. So we have a little gap in the market here, so anywhere within this level, and we also have a much more significant gap right here. Therefore, there's two ways to go about it. One is to see if price reverses from here, that will be scenario A, or it reverses from down here. I'll be looking for either one and seeing where the price action tells us to go. Once again, remembering that we've got FOMC, so Bitcoin's priced in dollars corresponds or correlates to the roughly, not always, but roughly the inverse of the dollar, because it's priced in dollars. And that will depend on FOMC, obviously a big dollar mover, and we'll see what FOMC brings and then make a decision from there. So that will be the higher probability thought around that from Wednesday onwards in terms of the time. And that is the scenario here on Bitcoin. So really wanting to see a nice lower price before, not trying to chase this. We see with that this massive move. This is about yeah, huge move in 1 week, but not really surprising for Bitcoin, but surprising that it just turned on a dime right here at the bottom. Yes, so the next level to bear in mind is this. If I can just remove that, and what I can do is make this level a bit more obvious, so you can see that, and then we'll see which one is more respected, this one or the one below. Obviously preferring the lower price because, well, it's a lower price, it's a better price, and we'll see where the market wants to go from there. So Bitcoin moves quite fast, very sharply, so bear that in mind, because you never know how many pips, how many points we're going to move within 1 day or 1 week. Anything is possible with Bitcoin, or even in fact lower than that to close this gap. That's another possibility. So let's wait for that and What I'd like to see, if it reacts off a level, pushes off a level, is similar reactions to this or this. Nice, sharp, big, bullish candles to show where it wants to continue going. So that's the idea on Bitcoin. So I believe that is all the charts for this week. And if anything is not clear, yeah, comment down below. Hope these help you to look at the market a bit more clearer, just in terms of price action and where the important levels are and how you may want to approach it. So yeah, that's the ideas for in terms of high probabilities for this week. My name is Dima. Thank you very much for joining me. Appreciate you being here. Have a good trading week. Watch out for all those news items and tread carefully when you do actually place a trade before or after the news. Usually my preference is to watch out for the news and either trade with it just after or the next day, because the situation is much clearer. You get more price action, more data in the market. No point to rush it too much and be too keen too early. Just observe what's going on and let the market tell you what it wants to do. All right, manage your risk as I always say, and thank you very much for joining me. All right, I'll catch you next week for more charts, more price action, more analysis, high probability setups. All right, my name is Dima. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one.